The Council for Geosciences has urged the public to be vigilant. This is as there's a likelihood of aftershocks following this morning's earth tremor. The council says the seismic event was moderately larger with a 4.4 magnitude and have also confirmed that the epicenter to be Gauteng's East Rand. Emergency services from Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni says no fatalities or injuries have been reported to them so far. For more on this, we speak to Willem Meintjes at the Council for Geoscience this morning. Thank you so much for your time, Willem. Welcome to the program. So, your statement calls for the seismic event an earthquake, while others call it a tremor. Can you perhaps maybe put things into perspective for our viewers and tell us what the difference is?
Thank you, and good morning to all the viewers as well. I think in general terms, there's a lot of vocabulary that we do use for earthquakes, seismic events, tremors, as you call them. But in essence, they are really very much the same phenomenon. So that's typically, where there's a release of energy from the earth as a result of underground movements of the geology. And then that causes, shaking at the surface to some extent. So generally, there's not a real difference between these different terminologies that we use as scientists.
Now, we also saw some videos as well as pictures on the social media platforms with some people saying that, this particular event caused some damage, structural damage to their properties. Now, did it actually cause any structural damages to any buildings or infrastructure? Are we able to confirm this?
At this point, I think the information that we have is only as well that was reported through social media. So we did confirm that the earthquake did indeed occur on the East Rand. We know from earthquakes that typically it's not necessarily only the area in direct vicinity of the epicenter, so where the seismic energy was released, that's usually affected. It can be broader regions as well. But at this point in time, we cannot confirm the extent of damage that was caused by this specific earthquake, and this will have to be followed with subsequent assessment of damage across the different regions. However, what we do want to urge the public is through the Council for Geoscience, for instance, we do have online questionnaires that the public can complete to indicate their experiences and any reported damage in their specific area or properties. So this will also assist us with subsequent follow-up assessments of the sort of distribution of the damage that was caused by this earthquake.
Willem, let's talk some survival tips now for our viewers. If you are caught in a seismic event, what should one do? Yes,
so it's usually something we don't anticipate it. So, usually when it happens, especially in South Africa, we have large earthquakes or larger earthquakes from time to time. So it will, for instance, when they happen, generally people take some time to really realize, what they are busy experiencing. So I think the first point would be, to realize that actually you are in the midst of an earthquake. So when you find yourself in that situation, it's always advisable to, if you can vacate or evacuate the property, do that and, get as far away as possible from any, buildings or structures or tall things that could fall over. In the event that you cannot do that, one of the best ways, for the duration of that event occurring is to, get underneath, like for instance, a table or a bed. Or something in that instance. And then the typical things that are usually not advisable to do and that should be refrained from is, for instance, using elevators and things like that. So generally, these events are typically short-lasted, a couple of seconds generally. So as soon as the shaking subsided, we always advise members of the public to, evacuate the property and to make sure that things don't collapse afterwards, as there might be some delayed effects if structural damage was indeed incurred to a specific property.
Right, so you say the epicenter was located in Boksburg in the east of Johannesburg. Is there something that makes this particular area prone to seismic events?
So in general, South Africa is located in what we call intraplate tectonic setting. So comparatively to the rest of the world, we don't experience such a high number of seismic activities. For instance, we saw all what happened in Turkey and Syria, and Japan also have got frequent large earthquakes. So generally in South Africa, we are relatively on the lower side of the number of larger seismic occurrences. But we do know, however, on the East Rand and the Johannesburg regions, the West Rand, Welkom in the Free State, those areas are typically more prone to seismic activity as a relation of mining activities in the past. And also, we do have quite a number of naturally occurring seismicity in the country as well. So at this point in time, we'll first have to undertake the additional assessments of the information that we've collected through our seismograph network to be able to confirm what was the exact cause of the seismic event. We do know also some other things that can influence seismic activity is when there's geological structures that are prone to slippage or releasing energy, is typically where you have water level fluctuations or the large-scale ingress of water. That can also sort of enhance the occurrence of seismic activity. But at this point, we cannot confirm pertinently, what would have been the cause of this exact seismic event at this point in time.
So are we able to confirm how wide the seismic event spread, and was it only just in Gauteng?
So the reports that we've received up until now seems to suggest that it's predominantly Gauteng, the Johannesburg, Pretoria regions. So that's why we urge the public to also report their experiences, through our online service that is available to report their experiences of the seismic event. But at this point in time, it seems like it's predominantly confined to the Gauteng regions, especially the eastern side of Johannesburg. I saw some reports coming towards the northern sides of Johannesburg as well, and certainly in the Pretoria region.
Now, Willem, most South Africans are currently on edge right now, even as we're having this conversation. Most of them would actually like to know, is it likely to happen again, and would its impact be more severe?
So the occurrences of seismicity to global standards, the scientific community hadn't been able to come up with a methodology to predict earthquake occurrences to any reasonable extent. However, what we do know is, based on historical occurrences, which areas are typically more prone to seismicity. And those models also, as science happens, we update them from time to time when events happen. So at this point in time, what we know from typical larger earthquakes, they tend to generate aftershocks, as more seismic energy is released. So we cannot rule out at this point in time that there might be some degree of follow-on seismicity from this morning's event. However, we do know that generally in South Africa, the frequency at which these larger seismic events do occur is not as often as in other parts of the world. However, they do occur from time to time. As you might recall, in around 2015, there was the Orkney earthquakes. There was also some seismicity from Botswana around 2016 that affected us. And it's not a recent thing, it's been coming for many, many years in South Africa. I think our monitoring technologies also improved over the years to be able to detect and locate these earthquakes and then report them to the public.
Right, if you can just maybe perhaps rehash the details of the council, because you did say that residents should report to the council should they be experiencing any of these. Yes, so the public is allowed to go onto our website. So it's www.geoscience.org.za. And from the homepage, they will find a questionnaire that they would be able to report their experiences for this morning's activity. And then also we do make available to the public other occurrences of seismicity across the country. A lot of them is not really perceivable. It's small in scale.
but most notably, larger events like the one from this morning, they'd be able to find the information there as well.
Right, that's Willem Meintjes at the Council for the Geoscience on this morning's seismic event in the East Rand and some parts there of Gauteng.